Vanessa. I'm coming up to second year in my doctorate training in clinical psychology in University of Oxford. I was from Hong Kong and I came to the UK to do psychology for my undergraduate, and then I stayed on and doing my clinical training as my postgraduate studies. So I feel like the story is tied closely with resilience because when I was 13, I think I was in Form 1 at that time in secondary school, and then one of my classmates actually died from cancer, and I had only a very short encounter with him, like within a year, like he passed away, and then at that time I think a lot of as a very a young teenager, like it was a very shocking kind of incident to us, and it still left a really I guess a huge part of me, and sometimes I would still think about him, and I could see that he was really resilient and he was so enthusiastic about life. And then to me at that time it was a very inspiring thing to see, and I felt like I need to do something when I grow up in kind of a helping profession, whether it was a doctor or like a nurse or a psychologist. And then over time I grew into I became more and more interested in psychology and kind of the idea of how human minds can actually affect a lot of things we do. So I decided to do clinical psychology and trying to, I guess, leave an impact through this way to the society. I feel like it's a buzzword nowadays, and I think there are a few layers to it. So like a lot of people say resilience is bouncing back, but actually I think instead of going back to the original, we are incorporating our dark times and the kind of negative things that happen to us into our life. And so it's more about bouncing forward, incorporating all the things that we have. And I recently watched a podcast, and someone was saying, like she said, in arts, like you have to draw some darker colors like black to contrast with the bright and vibrant colors. So that's sort of, I guess, our maybe adversities are the darker colors that we have in the canvas. So it kind of shows that actually our lives have like other colorful and brighter sides. So I think, resilience is about bouncing forward with what we have and using what we learned from our adversity. And that another aspect of resilience is a community resilience, because we don't live alone and we're not like an island. So like if other people can kind of give us a hand and if we support each other, it would create a community of resilience. And hopefully that would help, the society to bounce forward as a whole, especially with this COVID situation. I think there are a lot of more community work, emerging out of this crisis. And I think this is like a true spirit of community and collective resilience. I think I didn't have a very high self-esteem, and I didn't even want to apply to like prestigious universities when I was doing my undergrad. And then I felt, and then at that time a lot of my family members and friends were like, if you had good grades, then why didn't you go for like a higher, more prestigious university? And I just felt this sense of imposter and be like, no, I don't think I can do it. I don't think I'm as good as others. And then I think throughout my, I guess, me coming to the UK and developing my independence and confidence, and I felt, why didn't I, give it a shot? And maybe it's like I would still apply for like other universities and just see where, almost a bit like challenging myself and getting out of my comfort zone. So at that time I kind of applied, and it was funny because I got an offer from another London university, and at that time I didn't want to come to Oxford because there was that sense of imposter that I don't think I'm as good as others in some ways. But then I just decided again, like if I'm thinking in this way all my life, then I would never be able to grow and develop and challenge myself. I would kind of do like cost benefits analysis and things like that. But ultimately, I think in the end, it was just that one moment that I just listened to my heart and how, you know, I think sometimes if we think about our own values and things that we hold dearly to, like for me, it would be, you know, helping people and challenging myself and, you know, being more open-minded and adventurous. And so if I want to live according to my values, then it means that I would have to, you know, pick, there would be one path that is clearer, and then I would kind of go for that. And maybe it's very nerve-wracking, but ultimately it's kind of, I guess, it was worth it in the end. Currently is to, you know, successfully graduate. I think that would be my first goal. And then I would have to have some, I'm gonna think about where I want to, you know, focus my energy on. I really like to support community initiatives, and kind of collaboration between, I guess, because clinical psychology is very, you know, within the hospital still, I think in Hong Kong and in the UK, and there are more and more movements on trying to get this knowledge out to the community, to like the non-profit sector or other sectors. And I'm also quite interested in, it kind of ties into resilience as well. I'm very interested in conflict zones and refugees. So that's also something I want to maybe work with, like a population that I want to work with, because that group shows a lot of resilience from being in war-torn countries and escape all the way to another country, trying to find new lives and facing lots of marginalization and kind of discrimination. And I kind of hope that I could be maybe part of their journey to help them to, you know, start a new life in a new place. I think it depends on the different things and different problems they face, because again, there are lots of layers in this problem. Like a lot of my patients are affected by COVID-19 by their family or themselves catching the virus, or they're in a high risk group of catching virus, and being in socially isolated place like worsens their mental health as well. And I suppose for students it would be, you know, maybe their classes being online and they're not being able to see their friends, and maybe also if they're in like a foreign country, they might feel homesick and lack of support, and worrying about their hometown or, you know, their own health. I think one thing we need to remember is this is a common humanity that we're all facing, and we're all in this crisis together. And then so kind of having the idea that this is something shared by everyone, but it's not just you, I think it helps. And maybe joining other communities and kind of, you know, and here like we have some support groups thing that for example, like the Hong Kong students, sometimes they might form like a group and support each other. If you don't have enough masks, and someone else might send you some masks, or if you're isolated, then they would kind of give you food and stuff. And it kind of helps with the social isolation aspect. And also I think something that's important is to establish a good daily routine, because like when you're at home and working from home, you might just easily, like, you know, you're associating your bedroom as like your workplace, and it might create some kind of stress in you, and you might feel anxious during the day. So maybe like having another workstation, and trying to like not wear pajamas all day, to kind of like distinguish your day and night, and then having some kind of rest and activities within the day to help you to break out your routine. Trying to do some exercise, maybe like at home or either outside when it's less crowded. I think these are just more things that could help. Yeah, so I don't have a quote, but I have like, I don't know if you heard of the Japanese wabi sabi. Yeah, it's like a bit of a philosophy, and it's like it kind of shows that actually imperfection is what's valuable and what's precious in something. It kind of means that it's a type of aesthetics, and it's a bit linked to Buddhism. And they were saying like how imperfection and transience and incompleteness is actually worth more than something that is just fully perfect. So it's a bit of a philosophy and aesthetic, and I just really like that idea because that what makes us unique is our imperfections, and we're not trying to be, you know, cookie mold, like kind of being the same. And then so like our experience, whether it's positive or negative, shapes who we are today. And so if we take what we learn from each of the experiences we have in our life, then we'll become more unique individuals.